time we want to justify what we do, we can do that, can't we? I myself, I've got to figure out, I don't know how many years left, but I need to walk in a state of blessing that everything that I do is blessed. I need it. I need it. I need everything that I do to be blessed, Carrie. I need to be able to exist long enough to take care of that woman right there. I need to exist long enough to influence my grandchildren, to influence you guys, to not just influence you guys, but to motivate you guys to step up to the plate. And yes, I'm gonna probably go, well, you want to know why you're struggling. This is why you're struggling. This is why your life is this way. What are you showing your kids? What are you teaching your kids? What are you not teaching your kids? So the thing is that we will be talking further about the Lord's Supper here within the next few weeks. But what I want you to do, I want you to really, really, really be honest with yourself. And this is what I had to do. My pastor was telling us that we're getting ready to do the Lord's Supper. And he asked us, he says, I want you all to think about it. And he says, if you cannot take the Lord's Supper, he says, I respect that. I respect that you cannot take it. But if you know you cannot take it, you need to ask yourself, why? Because if you cannot take the Lord's Supper, and yet you still feel that you can get into heaven. Well, I was saved when I was 12 years old, but you ain't lived like it. You ain't lived like it.
Hey, you ask your question.
You want to anyway?
The Last Supper. We know it took place, okay? And all the stuff, see, I visualize and everything. The disciples, they were pure men just like you and me, everybody in here. I wonder what went through their minds after seeing all the blessings in Christ, but I wonder what through their minds that night when he was doing this. Should I do this? Sometimes I doubted my faith with him and everything. Should I take the Last Supper? So if they took it, it's because of their faith and that they believed in something. But if, like I said, other than that, you need to leave it alone because that's a covenant. That's almost a covenant to me. Does that make sense?
Well, consider those who took it unworthily. What happened to them?
They died a horrible death.
All of them. All of them died a horrible death.
Yeah, every one of them. And the thing is that...
Does that make sense to what I was saying? I mean, I wouldn't try to interrupt that. I wanted to know because you're getting into the Last Supper. And I just wondered what went through these disciples' minds.
If you want to take it from that aspect, and I'm just going to leave you with this thought.
That's curious.
If this Lord's Sacrament that we're getting ready to take as a church body, if this is your Last Supper, think about this thing. When a prisoner is going to die, what do they give him?
Whatever they want.
What's it called? Your last meal. What do you want as your last meal? What is your last meal going to define you as? This sacrament will be the definition of you. The thing is that there are people, I have been one of them, and I am, to some aspect, one of them, that will take it unworthily. It's quite one thing to realize that you are unworthy. It's quite a different thing to think that you're worthy. Does that make sense?
That's what I was thinking about the disciples.
Yeah. The thing is that the sacrament is a reflection. And the sacrament of the Last Supper is a reflection upon your heart. I think that to a large degree, you should feel unworthy. It is, you should feel that you do not deserve this thing.
That's right.
This is a reflection, no greater than your tithing, no greater than your church attendance, no greater than your actions and reactions inside the church. But more so, it's your actions and reactions outside the church that are important. It's your actions and reactions in your personal life. Because we all put this face on when we come to church. God doesn't really care about this face here. because this is just a face. This is makeup. This is all that this is. Your true Christianity is when you leave here. Your true Christianity is where you lay your head at night.
Real talk.
The true Christianity is when somebody makes you mad, how do you respond? When true Christianity is when you become indignant. What I mean by that is that, Brad, somebody does something and you don't like it. And you rant, you rave, you do all these things. What are you saying? That you have no religion. The thing is that you're reflecting. You say, well, it's just this world, it's all this thing. You're reflecting. That's all you're doing. You're reflecting. Did you ever see Jesus in his ministry get involved in politics and how corrupt politics was at the time?
No, he just laid the truth to him.
The thing is that what was the truth? For all have sinned.
He was the truth.
So the thing is that I'm on a side point, and I'm going to get off this. I want us. I look at Lance. I look at my grandchildren. I look at Bailey. I look at David. I look at Emily. By extension, I look at Chase. By extension, I look at Carrie. What am I describing? I am describing my circle of influence and my family. I look at Erica. You guys that has been there before. All the rest of you, we've all come in. I look at how I reflect the Master upon your life. I have to be careful of the line that I cross, but yet at the very same time, I'll come to Lance and I'll say, Lance, I know I'm going to say this once. I'm just going to say one time this, then I'm going to let it go. There are things that I wish I could tell David, with things I wish I could tell Bailey. The reason why I wish I could say these things is because in my mind, I see the course laid out. Does that make sense? In other words, I see the direction you're going. I see where you're heading to. As leader, AJ, you see people that you're working for, and you see the course that they're plotting. And what do you want to do? You want to fix that course, don't you? You want to adjust that course. I was considering yesterday God as a gardener. God, as a gardener, created the Garden of Eden, and he puts things in place, and he sets them on a direction. And he goes back, and he has to prune them, and he has to change these things and help them grow. I look at Lance's children, although Carrie doesn't want children. I look at Lance's and his children that I see in the future. I look at life. I look at David, how he affects, and how Bailey, how they affect my grandchildren. But not only this, I look at my grandchildren's children. I want my grandchildren's children to be blessed. I want this church to still be in existence after we're all said and gone.
Dang right.
I want this thing, but the other reality is you have to understand something. You've got to get a grip of this. The world that we know and have known is gone. That world's gone. This world that's coming is going to be far different than what we're in. We cannot say the words, but what we can do is start lining ourselves up with God. And then, man, when we start lining ourselves up with God, and you start, all you can describe it as kind of like herding rats. You start just trying to point them in a general direction. And you try, because I want these blessings upon y'all. I want you guys to walk in such a state of comfort that I don't hear you freaking out about this or hear you freaking out, because every time I hear these things, it tells me, and it's a sign that it's a symptom, Artie. It's a symptom that something's wrong. So as my role, I see myself wanting to try to fix this. Brad, if you hear somebody that you care about, you see what they're doing to the car, what do you want to do? You want to try to help them, because the other side of it is that if you don't help them now, you're going to have to help them later. And if you could offer them a word of advice now, hey, when was the last time you changed the oil? Well, I don't change my oil. I just let it take care of itself.
Right.
But who are they going to call, Brad?
Ghostbusters.
Don't know.
There's so many people that I wish that I had married as far as a pastor that I would have just, that they would just sit down and just once and go, listen, make a choice. Don't do this. This is not healthy. You're not going in the right direction. That's all I'm really trying to say is I don't want you guys to do these things and not understand the reason you're doing these things is the reason you are where you're at right now. Does that make sense? The reason why you're hurting financially is because, again, we're not tithing. We're not tithing because we don't have the money. We don't have the money because of this. We brought these curses upon ourselves. God says, I want to fix them, but you've got to let go. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? That's all I'm trying to say. Somebody dismiss it before I shut up.
Can I say one thing before
Yeah,
that?
go into it anyway.
Dang right I am. It's on your sermon. Do you think at this time in 2025, us as a people are still under a generational curse according to the Bible that was passed down from God cursed the generations? Do you think we're cursed?
If we choose to live under it.
I'm just saying, do you
If we
think
choose
we're
to
in
live
it?
under it. And I'll tell you why I say this.
I was curious.
Sidetrack.
Go ahead.
Generational curses. Your father is an alcoholic, your grandfather is an alcoholic, you have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Your father cussed, you have a choice. Your father farted at the kitchen table, you farted at the kitchen table. You have a choice.
Is that what basically is what God was saying when He put a curse upon it'd be upon your children's children's children, even though so they were already cursed.
The thing is that we have
Just
the original sin curse that's been on us since
Yeah.
the very inception.
Okay.
But as well, we also have the curse upon us because there's this other thing, if you want to talk about this thing, and I'll go there real fast. God told them, He said, get rid of these things in your life. They didn't get rid of the things in their life. Guess what, Lance? They told them, hold on to them. God says, okay, I told you to get rid of this crap. I told you to quit doing this thing. But since you didn't choose to do this, now I'm going to leave them there. And I'm going to leave them there to teach your children how to do warfare. And so these people had to contend with these issues for the rest of their life. The thing is that already each person, and Scripture talks about that basically it is unfair for the son to suffer the repercussions of the father.
That's right.
The father's sin is the father's sin.
That's right.
You choose to pick up that yoke of your father. So in other words, whatever your father, whatever your mother did, you make that choice to follow in that road. In my family, on my mother's side, and I was telling Amber, I hear it in like Matt and all them. If you listen to their vocabulary and how they speak, they all kind of sound the same. They all have that same mannerism. Spiritually speaking, we make the choice. When I was a young man, I looked at my family and I said, I do not want to be this way. I don't want this way. Lance done the same thing. Did you not? It's driven everything you do. Spiritually, it's the same way. It goes from the fathers down. That's why it's so important. In the Bible, it said it twice that He will do what? Turn the hearts of the fathers back to the children. When the fathers start taking care of the kids and start living the roles of men, not tyrants, completely different thing. Not bosses, not managers, but leaders. Two different things. The thing is, when men start being leaders, that means when men start being servants, now all of a sudden these things happen. But myself, my father had these things. And so the thing is that if you remember when we did the baptism last week, what did I do? What did I do specifically? I did something kind of strange and weird you probably never seen before. I called the fathers up. And do you know why I called Danny up? Huh? I chose him to be the patriarch. I chose. He never made the assumption He's the patriarch. He didn't walk in and say, well, I'm this and I'm that. He didn't walk in and, y'all know that man. Y'all know that man. The man had to be called up and he didn't even understand it. But yet when I chose to use the words that this man is the head of my family, what did I do?
You declared.
I made a public declaration, but I also lined myself up under, and the blessings of my family, under a godly man. And if I wanted the definition of a godly man, I would say it be Danny Thorne. You don't see Danny screaming, hollering, cussing, getting mad, and doing all these things. Danny Thorne is a good godly man, in my opinion. When my father was not, I had to be Brad.